By the time most of you watch this, assuming it goes up on time this week, good God, November is a beast. I will more than likely either have seen Justice League, be on my way to see Justice League, or, during at least one comparatively brief stretch of time, be in the process of watching Justice League, and then I'll be writing a review of it to be released at some point after whenever that embargo drops. Basically, that's what my week looks like. Am I excited? Well, I'm interested, let's put it that way. How could anyone in my business not be under the circumstances? I mean, I'm still impressed to actually see a Justice League movie get made, period, considering how impossible that seemed just over a decade ago, and even if I wasn't interested in the subject or the genre, I'd be pretty fascinated to see this one anyway, given the backstory of the production, not necessarily the film. Here's a movie that was already into production when its direct predecessor, Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, was opening in theaters as what its studio thought for sure would be a gigantic blockbuster, and instead wound up being one of the worst reviewed movies of the year, one of the most divisive films among fans in its entire genre, and a record setter for Friday to Friday box office drop-offs. A film so controversially received and instantly infamous that my special Really That Bad episode covering it turned into 2 episodes, the first of which is already up, the second of which is coming soon, and I can now, somewhat exhaustedly, confirm that it will actually end up being 3 episodes by the time it's all done, because that's how the script sorted out, basically. Rumors swirled for months about Abject Panic, a studio trying to completely overhaul a massive shared universe production slate already in progress, including the partially made Justice League, originally planned as a 2-part feature shot concurrently, but now whittled down to just 1. On top of all that, midway into post-production, director Zack Snyder suffered a family tragedy and had to step away from the project entirely, with Joss Whedon taking over, launching even more rumors of massive reshoots, whole subplots being excised, radical shifts in tone. I mean, there's just no way that the story even ends here. We're all living through film history on this one, and that's pretty cool, even if it will almost inevitably overshadow whether or not the movie is any good. And yet, one thing I'm not looking forward to, fighting over whether or not whatever's been done to this movie in response to the last one is somehow a fix for the current mostly sorry state of the so-called DC Extended Universe, and especially its much maligned predecessor in particular. The fact is, what I wanted more than anything to avoid was to get wrapped up in the discussion of whether or not Justice League, if it turned out to be good, or even simply better than the last one, which, let's face it, is setting the bar about as low as you can possibly set it, somehow redeemed Batman v Superman. Because, and let me be clear about this, it can't. Here's the thing, even if Justice League or any other subsequent hypothetical related film did manage to drop in some kind of miracle retcon that explained away a nonsensical plot point or fixed a mischaracterization or particularly galling story point, that still doesn't actually ripple back in time and no longer make that element not a detriment in its original form in the original film. Yes, it might ease your sense of comprehension or make more sense when you're plotting out the beats and details of the DCEU meta-narrative on your own, if that kind of thing is your bag, no judgment here, but it can't undo the tangible negative effects of the original flaw on the original film proper. I don't care if Jeff Johns and Grant Morrison themselves collaboratively pen a stirring flashback monologue into the Green Lantern Corps movie wherein Tomar Ray reveals the shocking truth that Granny's peach tea was actually concentrated essence of the Parallax entity deliberately manifested into the Senate Superman hearing by Sinestro under the influence of Necron in order to create the level of fear and mistrust necessary to ensure Superman was distracted from preventing the deaths of Mercy Graves, Wallace Keith, and Judith Finch because the specific condition of their respective life energies fated them as ideal candidates to become the first Black Lanterns, it's still a stupid moment that sticks out and mutilates audience engagement with the narrative flow of the movie that it's actually in, and it would be no more retroactively fixed by that kind of nonsense than having them turn up as characters in Justice League fixes stopping Batman v Superman cold so Wonder Woman can watch Cyborg, Flash, and Aquaman's EPK teasers, which it can't and which it never could have because that's not how cinematic storytelling, even serialized cinematic storytelling, works. And furthermore, obsessing over fixing mistakes you've already made for the sake of either continuity, answering fanboy criticism of your previous movies, or just trying to prove you were listening instead of focusing on telling good stories going forward, or, here's a novel idea, making the one movie you're working on in the present actually good is a big part, hell, quite possibly the biggest part, of how we found ourselves in this mess to begin with. I mean, not for nothing, but it says quite a lot that the only one of these things that's been mostly good so far was Wonder Woman, and that's the one that felt the most like it could have been a standalone feature not connected to anything else. And even then, when it turns into a more familiar DCEU movie for the final big battle in terms of tone and style, that's kinda when the movie stops being good. Regardless, the stuff that didn't work in Wonder Woman and may or may not have worked at some point throughout the calamitous production and reproduction of Justice League is pretty much all stuff that was already poisoned before they inherited it from Dawn of Justice, and it's not hard to imagine that this will end up being the case with Aquaman too. The DC Extended Universe train, or whatever we're going to rebrand it as, has already left the station, and even if it's it's holding together now, I'm sorry, everything I've managed to glean from having immersed myself so completely in the fetid bowels of Batman v Superman tells me that the myriad cracks and profound design flaws in the engine are still going to blow the whole thing off the rails sooner or later if it maintains its current course. Can it be saved? I think so, yeah. I mean, that depends on what you mean by saved. If you're asking, will I ever see DC Comics movies again? The answer is of course. I feel like we're way past the point where this genre is meaningfully going away. The time period between Batman and Robin killing the superhero genre and the genre itself being zapped back to life by Blade was just 1 year. Time between Spider-Man 3 and Iron Man, also 1 year. You'll get your DC movies. Will they be part of the ongoing story established here? That's a little less of a guarantee, and if you're asking whether or not some narrative sleight of hand down the road retcon is going to make rewatching Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, and Suicide Squad not a soul-sucking waste of your time, no. The fact is, retcons are for making future stories better, not saving bad ones that already happened. So if and when Superman returns to these movies and suddenly they've figured out how to do the character well, a line or two of dialogue about learning lessons won't suddenly justify the 2 previous movies where he was an irritating sad sack, or make you right for having made excuses for them at the time. That's not going to happen, and making it happen should be the last concern on anyone's mind. That kind of fixating on connective tissue and trying to make up for previous mistakes over in-the-moment quality storytelling is a big part of how we got into this mess, which is why, even if, yes, I totally mark out for some kind of serious multiversal fan service stuff like Ben Affleck meeting Christian Bale and Michael Keaton, or a digitally reconstituted Christopher Reeve showing up with the gray Earth 2 Superman temples, or a walk-on from the Arrowverse people, I really hope they don't actually try to flashpoint their way into a fanboy pardon. Because look gang, I'm a dyed-in-the-wool geek going back way the hell farther from when I was doing this professionally, so I'm all the way down for shared universes, continuity, sequels, prequels, retcon, the whole thing, so long as it's always in the service of the movie you're making now, or the movie you're going to make next being the best it can be. Whatever you do to your timeline, you can only learn from past mistakes, not erase them, and trying to do so is how you end up with a blue Jamie Foxx or a purple Oscar Isaac. Let's not have any more of those, please. Hey gang, here's a question that keeps coming up. If your handle is moviebob, where are your movie reviews? Well, my old reviews are in a lot of places. You'll find many of them on my YouTube channel, but you'll find the brand new ones on geek.com, an awesome site that's also your one-stop news source for science, TV, gaming, technology, nerd culture, the works. You can find all my reviews directly by going to geek.com/author/bchipman, because that's my real name, and you can get regular updates on all my reviews and all of geek.com's other great content by signing up for their kick-ass newsletter at subscribe.geek.com. And don't forget to also subscribe to the Geek.com YouTube channel, where you'll find the videos that accompany my reviews and tons of other great content too. Remember, that's Geek.com, the Geek.com newsletter, and Geek.com on YouTube. Make sure you don't miss out on all the latest MovieBob reviews. You can also check out my own new website, MovieBob Central, where you'll find my blog, links to all my work, and shop for my books, ebooks, and future MovieBob products. And please remember to like these videos, share them with all of your friends, and subscribe to this channel. Thank you for watching another MovieBob production.